a regular part of life. And there is no way people know up till now how to cope with this situation. We are crossing under the bridge. Normally, this wouldn't be so difficult. It's a situation where the waters have risen and the traffic under the bridge has had to stop. The boats cannot go this way anymore. Right behind you, you can see fresh water being ferried while there is water everywhere. This is what flood does to people. We hear, about that 1/3 of Bangladesh may disappear underwater. When we say, okay, this is the map of Bangladesh, where is the 1/3?
During peak monsoon, all these areas are embanked in the south. So these embankments are often overtopped by nip tide.
Yeah.
So during monsoon, these areas will be inundated. Then probably it will be costly to just put the water outside the embankment. Then again, next season, there will be more water inundating the areas. So there will be intermittent inundation during every nip tide during peak monsoon.
We journeyed to the coastal resort district of Cox's Bazar, which lies on the Bay of Bengal. It's a long beach, but the sea is a regular generator of killer cyclones, now increasing in numbers every year. The tourists enjoy a holiday, but life here has already been brutalized by a sea that offers dwindling catches, no shelter or safety.
In the Bay of Bengal, the sea, which is probably going to cause death and livelihood loss to more people than any sea in the world. We are close to one of the islands, which is a point where fishermen come to deposit their catch and often dry fish. But all this is temporary because this is going to end as the sea rises. And the islands that you can see all around and that we can see all around us, these are all like dying relatives. They've all been condemned to death. And to them, the climate change word doesn't have a meaning. But what has a meaning is that their lives and their livelihoods are slowly going away.
If you look at the possible impacts on Bangladesh, and of course parts of West Bengal as well, they could be very serious because not only is there danger of large areas of land being submerged, we are likely to see the harmful impacts of storm surges, of cyclones, all of which will become much more severe because of sea level rise.
আর আপনারা থাকেন কোন জায়গায়? এই যে এখানে আপনারা থাকেন ওই গ্রামের মধ্যে।
সমুদ্র আগে তো ওই যে আসলে না খাল, হ্যাঁ খালের মধ্যে ছিল
ওই অত দূরে। হ্যাঁ আপনাদের কিন্তু সমুদ্রকে আসতেছে এরকম করে
আস্তে আস্তে
আর যদি সমুদ্র আর আসে তখন আপনারা যাবেন কই?
তারপর কি করব আল্লাহ যা করে তা।
Local people, especially in the coastal area, they don't understand climate change happening, but they can certainly relate that change with their livelihoods and the struggle they are in. And because of a high level of insecurity, food insecurity, employment insecurity, livelihood insecurity, they'll have to probably migrate out.
One of the things that is sure to happen and has already happened is the movement of people, both internal, the people we call internally displaced people, IDPs, and also people going beyond the borders. And this is an issue because our cities are not big enough to contain the IDPs.
Inevitably, migration is the result. Millions crowd into Dhaka streets as the capital is collapsing under the weight of its refugees. Refugees are never popular. Residents of Cox's Bazar complain about Myanmar refugees, accusing them of terrorist links and social problems.
The Rohingyas are posing a great problem demographically and economically also. And it is also rumored that these people are resorting to nefarious activities like terrorism, all these things. Most of the refugees, actually, they are stationed in their refugee camps. But there are some other people who are not registered with these refugee camps. These people are creating problem. And it is also rumored that these people have got relation with the terrorists who are operating in different areas of the country.
All conflicts today, whether they are internal or between nations, tend to articulate themselves more and more in the form of terrorist activity, whether these are proxy wars or whether they are internal terrorism. Because this is among the most, shall we use an inappropriate term, efficient and economical forms of violence, particularly which can be harnessed by small groups against very much larger powers. So I see every factor that will incline to increase tension or conflict in this region will feed into greater terrorism.
Refugees can become a problem as politics across the globe becomes more unstable. It could be one of the most deadly byproducts of climate change.
I think in the past, India has seen a number of refugees coming over from Bangladesh, but that has not really resulted in anything of serious proportion. There have been concerns expressed, there has been some opposition, but if you have literally millions of people who have no place to go but to come over the border between Bangladesh and India, that has the makings of a conflict.
If you can anticipate that there are going to be large population movements from, say, a deltaic region like Bangladesh, to parts which fall into the Republic of India, the Union of India, you can begin to start making policy to make that population movement more regulated.
If people are going to lose land in Bangladesh, they are not just going to get into the sea and start living in the sea. They are going to go in search of new land. And obviously, the geographical limits of Bangladesh has a limitation. So there is going to be a very major spillover into India. And this spillover, I think, is going to create a lot of political, social, economic and ecological problems for both Bangladesh and India.
I mean, India has its own problem too. This is also a densely populated country. We don't expect that only because my neighbor, they will be accepting within the framework of nation states, that they will be accepting my people, or we will be accepting theirs. So, and India is not directly the cause for creating this problem. So those who have created this problem, it's their moral responsibility and they to address this.
This is not just an issue of Bangladesh, it's an international issue, and we are always clamoring about the international players having a responsibility. So I don't think just pouring in money for climate change projects and here are going to be enough. This refugee issue they should involve, so that if the people are displaced and physically do have to move, why should it just be India? Why shouldn't the countries which are responsible for this climate change also have the responsibility to rehabilitate these people?
Resentment is increasing about the attitude of the global policymakers. India is expected to be the obvious destination for climate change refugees, but the rest of the carbon-emitting world is doing very little about the problem. The West is seen as both very